Action. Ta. Hey, it's Jim Toscano, and welcome to the Monday night live stream. So glad for anyone who's joining me tonight that you're following these really fun and inspiring interviews. So as you know, I've been doing these for almost 2 years now, which is crazy. It was January before the pandemic I started doing these crazy live streams. So they were originally just drumming live streams, and then I started having guests on, friend musicians, and now it's turned into I have people booked through March for interviews. So it's pretty insane. Next week I have Ralph Humphrey on finally, so Ralph's going to be on. We've been trying to get that happening for a while. And the week after I have Dara Jones on, which is going to be awesome. And I have some great educators coming up. And of course, I try to get drummers like myself who are educators and drummers and players and authors. And, you know, we try to bring you something of inspiration and hopefully something that's informative at the same time. So I just want to thank some companies, Prologix, Percussion Offset Pedals, Sabian Cymbals, Black Magic Designs. By the way, Offset just sent me their single pedals, which I'm going to be trying out for the first time because I've been using their double pedals. So it's time to replace all my old single pedals. I have a bunch of offsets coming, so I'm going to give you guys a review about that. I'm very excited. And some new products coming from Sabian. Very exciting. So I have to put on the goggles because otherwise I can't see. One of my long-term friends and students, Vincent LaRussa, said, Jim, if you're going to be wearing the reading glasses every week, you better get something that looks good. Those Costco readers are pretty horrendous because usually they look like this. They're usually a little crooked, and I'm like trying to get them straightened out. But so my guest tonight, first of all, Jim Royle is a wonderful human being. So I want to start with that. And I've met my guest, as many of my guests, I've met, many drummers I believe at PASIC, maybe mid-2000s, maybe 2010, I don't know. I met Jim Royle there. He is a wonderful educator and drummer and percussionist, and we're going to get into all the things that he does. But he's a native of Connecticut, and he was the state president of the Connecticut chapter of the Percussive Arts Society for 17 years. I don't think they knew that. He kept changing his look, and he kept putting on different wigs. And I don't think they knew it was actually him for all 17 years, but it was him. And he's got an incredible school in Connecticut, the Jim Royle School of Percussion and Drumming and Steel Pan. We're going to get into all of that. It's really incredible. And he's also studied with some pretty incredible people, and I want to ask him about that. He studied with Max Roach, Alan Dawson, Keith Copeland, to name a few. And he's also big in the jazz circuit in Connecticut, and I want to ask him about that. And he's been playing with Jazz by Coogan, and for like a small group kind of thing. And he also played with the New England Jazz Ensemble Big Band, which is pretty prestigious and amazing. So without any further ado, my wonderful guest, Mr. Jim Royle. There he is.
Jim, how are you?
I'm good. How was that intro? Was it good?
That was fantastic. I got to meet this guy.
So first of all, you're in your studio.
I am.
And I love the mural that you have in your studio. You have a mural did a student do that mural, or there's like that wonderful cartoon?
Yes. What is so wonderful about the studio is that I try to make it a community so that people go in their directions. They started as drummers, but that young man, Matt Schlein, ended up going to school for art, and he went to University of Michigan, and now he does the most amazing pop-up art in the world, and he does stuff for Apple and for pharmaceuticals. But back then, his art was so amazing, and I'm like, look, once I got into this space, I knew I was always like all drummers are. Your mind's exploding constantly and you're all over the place. And I love a lot of energy. And I'm like, I want to put murals up. So when people walk in, if they don't feel that energy, they don't even have a pulse. So, yes. And if they don't have a pulse, they're going to have a pulse because they're going to feel it right away.
Nice.
And I'm not sure what mural you're referring to, maybe the ensemble room, but every room, and we can do this another time where maybe I can walk with another device.
Oh yeah.
But in my big teaching room, there's a mural that has a theme of all different types of percussion, and then through the mural is music that then changes for that particular percussion instrument.
Wow.
I mean, I thought through all this as he was doing it, and he put my madness on the walls.
There's a quote. He put my madness on the walls, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. Yes, that's back from when I was a kid in my parents' basement. I wanted the basement to just be colorful and just I don't know. I was always intense and passionate, and that's what I want to continue to do.
Oh man,
so
that's amazing, and it inspires me. I've been thinking for a long time about the back of my house is where the entrance of the drum studio is. It's the back of a garage, but there's a big just gray cement wall with a white door and my logo on it. And I'm like, man, that wall should really be a mural. And I thought about it many years ago and I just never acted on it. But I think come the spring, I'm going to have somebody painting like a massive mural on that back wall. So you're inspiring me to do it. I'm going to get it done. And by the way, before we get into it, I just have to say, I know I said I was going to wait to get in the chat, but Mola, Jim Mola's in the chat.
All right.
And he's saying, hey, Jims, we should have had him on with us. It would have been the 3 Jim show. Maybe we'll do that in the spring because I want to get him back on. I'm going to want to get you back on. We'll do like the 3 Jims.
We're both from Connecticut originally. I mean, so we've got tons to chat about, and how do you not love Jim Mola? I mean,
you gotta love him.
You gotta love him. He's a character and a half.
And I'm going to mention that Sergio Bellotti's in here, and
Sergio,
Larry Rizzo's in here, and Carol Bates is in here. So we're starting off with some fine folks tonight. So
love Sergio. I met him years ago when we both taught at the Costa Percussion Camp in Vermont.
Right. Yeah.
With Aldo Mazza, and what an amazing person he is. I mean, so we've been friends ever since.
Sergio's amazing, and so is Aldo. By the way, Aldo's a wonderful guy, and I see Sergio a couple of times a month. We're working on his technology setup for his studio at Berkeley. So I've been helping him get that dialed in, and he's doing an amazing job. He keeps saying, "Jim, stop making me spend money." But I'm like, well, if you really want to take it to the next level, unfortunately, some of that comes with a cost. But he's down, and he's been working on it with me every so often. So, and my Lucia Seminar is in here tonight, who's one of my students, and she's always in the chat. And I have to say that first of all, she's saying, "Hi, Jim and Jim. How are you all doing tonight?" And Lucia had a high school audition today, so I know that went really well. So congrats to Lucia in advance. And I know she remembered her samba when she had to play that. Awesome.
Yeah.
So, man, let's get into it. So I met you definitely at PASIC, for sure. And I think it was maybe a Dom connection because Dom may have introduced us. I'm pretty sure Dom Famularo introduced us.
That's certainly possible. I mean, he's basically introduced the world. I go back to when I forget what it was called. It was out of Long Island. It was a drummers connection group with Jerry Ricky at a Long Island Drum Center.
Okay.
And it was some kind of informal drum club. And we're talking like 30 years ago. I mean, long time ago. But regardless, I mean, Dom just brings everyone together, and he does it with a smile and love. And we all have to just continue to do that. I mean, talk about being inspired. How could you not be inspired? How could you not read his book? And again, I now have it on. It's on CD, and it runs in my loop in my car, and every once in a while that one comes up, and I just started listening to him, and for the last 10 minutes, I get re-inspired for my day.
That's it. It
doesn't have to do with. It has nothing to do with drumming. It has to do with life. And I think that's what's so important about another aspect of what I like to bring to all my students is that we could talk about the tech, we could talk about the rudiments, we can, but what about life and being a life coach? I mean, a parent just said that to me the other day. She's like, look, I know you're a master and amazing at what you do, but you're an incredible life coach, and blah 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 blah. And you forget about that, and because we wear so many hats as educators.
Yeah.
Because you know what, it's our responsibility.
100%.
There's so much responsibility when somebody walks through that door, and you know what, we wouldn't be here now if we didn't do that. It's 35 years of teaching now for me.
Wow.
And I knew it right away. I knew it immediately when I started doing private lessons. I knew what I wanted to do. I went to college, though, for music education. And then we had an aha moment where my percussion professor in percussion ensemble said, hey, the local music store said, we need a drum set teacher. Is anybody interested? I didn't even blink. I just went, I'm going to do it.
Done.
Changed my life.
Yeah.
And as soon as I started doing that, I knew that was my niche and what I wanted to do. And so as far as what that means to anyone that's listening and that's going to listen to this down the road, be aware of those aha moments. They come and go, and maybe sometimes you're going to miss them, but I don't know. They really talk to you and resonate, and you got to go with it.
Yeah.
Whether it's an introduction or it's an opportunity. And I've had a lot of those, and some of them can be scary, but that's how you grow and evolve, and just get over yourself and just get over it, because it can change your life. And I have no regrets with any of that, but aha moments is a big thing.
Yeah. And
Sure.
I love, I forget where I stole this quote from, but when opportunity meets preparedness, that's luck.
Yes.
And the harder you work and the more prepared you are, the luckier you get, right? So it's like, it all comes down to that. And if you do get an opportunity that you think you're not prepared for, fake it till you make it, because you know what? Sometimes you just have to jump in the deep side of the pool and go for it.
Well, absolutely. And you know what? You got, once you've made the commitment to go for it, you hope that you prepared the way that you should have, right? And you worked really hard. But if it didn't go the way you wanted to, well, it's a learning lesson.
You're still going to learn something extremely
You're still going to learn
valuable.
something from it, and it's okay. And I remember going through that in my early stages of being out in the gig scene, playing with people that were always older than me, where I was always taking something out of that and then going home and figuring it out. So the next time I knew what was up. I mean, I'm talking about, say I was in my early 20s, people were in their 40s and 50s.
Right.
And I don't know. There's certain things that were very intuitive for me, where I think sometimes as a jazz musician or musician, we could be labeled as kind of flaky, and you're a moon unit and you're just floating around. Well, I guess I have some of that too, along with my ADD and everything else I have. But you just gotta you just have to go for it and not worry about it. And I would just take those moments in and learn every time. If I didn't know the songs, get a real book, get whatever you got to get, learn the songs.
That's it.
But anyway, I'm kind of jumping around. I'm sorry. I get a little bit.
No, that's all good. And it's good advice too. I mean, I've gotten, let's say we've all gotten this, you get a gig and it's like, okay, you need to learn 50 songs by Thursday. And you're like, okay, here go those shorthand charts that I've been working on my whole life. Right. So, those skill sets that we develop over time and that we hopefully are passing on to our students are invaluable. And, you just have to do it. It's, I remember when we used to have date books, like those little diary date books, like before it was all devices, and you'd be jotting down the gigs and song lists in these date books. And I saved some of those things. It's funny looking back at it, but I see those lists of okay, if you do club dates or weddings or anything like that, it's like, oh, we got 30 songs you have to know for Saturday that the bride wants, and the first dance, and this and that, and you have all these requests. And so, there's that part of the preparedness, which all of that stuff comes in as educators, right? And hopefully we're passing those skill sets, those important skill sets on to our students.
Well, it's really interesting that you talk about the date book and the diaries, because you know what? I'm going to be honest. I still do that.
Okay, cool.
I mean, I'm into the electronic thing in the phone and the iPad or whatever, but I like to have it so I could see it.
Yeah.
and I write everything down. I journal every day, whether it's about life or this or quotes or whatever. And there's something about this works for me. There's something about when you engage and you write it down, whether you're transcribing music, a drum part or whatever, or you're just writing down notes to yourself, whatever it is, it sticks with you.
Yes.
And I think, that's what I see with students now, is that they want to just push a button, get the answer, and move on, and and go play Fortnite or whatever else they're going to do. And to me, what we did with putting the records on and transcribing and moving the needle back and doing it again and again and again.
Yeah.
I don't know if those days are gone or not.
I talk about that every podcast. I talk about that, where we played the records and moved the needle.
Yeah.
And, I also bring up going through album covers, looking on the back, seeing who played on it, cross-referencing without an internet, right? Going from record bin to record bin, looking for who played on what record. And, it's those days seem to be gone. I mean, it's also, we would get together and listen to a whole record.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, man, I just got that new record from Tower Power. Let's get together and listen to the whole thing.
And let me ask you this one. You just made me think of something. And I'm going to reference Chick Corea, Three Quartets album.
Right. Yeah.
With Steve Gadd, right? When you listen to a record with someone else, this happened to me every time. And it really started to happen for me when I was in college. You hear things you never heard before.
Right.
When you listen with somebody else. And you could have listened to that record over and over, like you heard everything on it. And suddenly when you're sitting with someone else, you start to listen differently. And I'd go, wow, I never heard him do that before.
Yeah.
You didn't just sneak that in the record this time. I don't know. There's something about that. And I wish, and I hope that our students and future, young artists still continue and want to do that, because there's something special about it. The camaraderie of getting together, whether it was John Scofield, Blue Matter, or whatever those records were, and you throw them on and you all would just sit in a room and listen.
Let me tell you something. I do it with my students. And what's funny is this. So, like, not every lesson has to be sitting behind the drums.
That's correct.
Sometimes we're sitting in front of the speakers. And, of course, in these times where there's a lot of virtual lessons, even in that, Lucia's in here. Lucia, Alan Holdsworth Road Games, we listened to a lot of that record recently in a lesson because I wanted her to hear what Alan Holdsworth sounded like and what Chad Wackerman sounded like on that record. Right. And the melodic part of it. And she's a multi-instrumentalist. And so she really had never heard what Alan Holdsworth's sound was like. And so we had this moment where we just listened to like half the record together. And I think we need to do that with our students and pass on that love and passion of music and not just download the one song that we have the chart for,
Right.
So
whenever we have that chance, I mean, it happened just tonight. I have a young percussionist who is now in one of our percussion ensembles. He's also a violinist.
Wow.
And he's going to be auditioning for a program in Connecticut where it's like you go half of your school day to your regular school and high school, and then you go to this music program.
Wow.
And he's got the classical side covered, but his teacher is more of a classical person. And I'm like, well, has she talked about Stefan Grappelli? Has she talked about Jean-Luc Ponty? And he was like, what? And I'm like, well, I'm going to write these down.
Yeah.
And you got to go check these two people out. I mean, whenever you have that moment, I think you have to jump on it, because I'm not sure where else they're going to get it.
That's right.
I mean, on Saturday when we had a steel band class, I do 2 steel bands for the local the Greater Connecticut Youth Orchestra. Now they have 2 steel bands, which I'm directing. And something came up where I'm like, okay, the feeling is kind of like James Brown. And that nobody in the room even knew who he was, except for the father who was sitting in the corner, and he looked at me, and you just can't let those moments go.
That's right.
You have to say, look, please write that down. With parental permission, of course, whatever you have at your house, go on YouTube and at least type in James Brown and listen to something. because you just don't know where it's going to go from there for somebody.
That's right.
So that's just as important as you described, as working on any technique or anything else that we can do. And for us, on our side of the tracks over here, as you mentioned in the opening, I mean, look, my main background coming up was drum set. You know what I mean? Snare drum set. And then it evolved into all this other craziness that I do. But when kids come in here, they're learning every facet of percussion imaginable. If you can hit it, scrape it, scratch it, whatever, you can do that here. So we've got a lot to cover. Once somebody's in a percussion ensemble, they're doing concert percussion, they're doing steel band or whatever. And we have a holiday concert coming up. We have the recital coming up in January. I mean, there's not really a lot of moments where you can just go, hey, Johnny, what are we going to do today? I mean, I love it where, between their school stuff we have to make sure is okay, the regional stuff, whatever auditions they have. I mean, I love the fact that I never feel there's a moment where I have to go, what are we going to do today? Not that that's not okay. Yeah. I mean, with the resources that we both have probably built all these years, I mean, I've got a library that's insane. Yeah. So, we could go for 365 and never repeat the same thing.
Right.
But I love the fact that, we could keep them excited.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of the success of the studio, is that there's not a dull moment, and there's always something that they're reaching for a goal.
Yeah.
And I think that would be for anyone in their practice, again, whether it's snare drum, drum pad, drum set, or you evolve into some other percussion, you got to keep it moving and interesting and exciting, and change it up. I'm like, hey, Johnny, I'm throwing you a curveball today, and I'll just pull something out that they wouldn't expect.
Right.
All these little things that just get somebody re-energized, because again, it can get a little bit page 1, page 2 sometimes.
Yes.
And you got to be careful with that. That's my perspective.
Here's a fun little thing that I hope every drum teacher steals this, but I take the mouse, right? So, and this was when students were in here, and I would, because I have all these digital books, so I pull up, let's say, the Belson book, Modern Reading Text, and unlock the wheel, and then spin the wheel, and then tell the student to push the wheel down randomly wherever they want, hit the wheel, and it's going to stop on a page, and that's your sight reading. So make it, a spinning wheel of sight reading is what I called it, the wheel of sight reading. And, that's awesome. So like little things like that where you're trying to engage them, challenge them at the same time, that's a skill that's necessary. So it's a way to make it fun. And so we did the little wheel of sight reading. So anyway. It
could be the wheel of fortune or the wheel of misfortune, depending upon what page it goes to.
Yeah.
And then you can also take out the same series of the odd times of that book.
That's right.
Which is great. Now, I mean, I do a little bit of online. I know you do a lot. Yeah. But for me, I'll just go like this, and I'll flip the pages, and I'll tell them to let me, tell me when I should stop.
Right.
And we open it up, and it could be disaster. Like right. they don't even get any measures right. And I say, look, if you plow through this and you get it happening, great. If it's not that happening, then we got to work on this page this week as part of your lesson. It's fine.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, I remember when I studied in college, and I also worked with Arthur Lipner, the great vibraphonist, and Jim and I know him very well, Jim Mola. And he was the one who introduced me to the Louis Bellson book.
Wow.
And here I thought, like, I'm Mr. Rhythm. I mean, look, I'm what, 19, 20?
Yeah.
When I think back at where I thought I was and where I totally wasn't, it's ridiculous. But I mean, and he said, we're just going to take it out, and we're going to do it a couple different ways. We're going to sing it.
Right.
We're going to clap it. And then we're going to use sticks to play it. And that's one of our mottos here. And even on the murals in my room, it says, if you could say it, you can play it. That's something that we do all the time.
Yeah,
and as soon as a student, I say, put your sticks down, put your mallets down, let's clap this or sing it. Within a couple times, I'm like, okay, pick your sticks back up or mallets back up. They basically almost have it or have it.
Yep.
So there's something about that. And I got to thank, you always thank everybody for the different things that came about, but who would have thought that would have come up in a vibraphone lesson?
That's right. Yeah. And
so you don't know. You never know what you're going to get from somebody, and I use that book to this day. So I'm glad you just brought that up because I love that book.
That is a great one. By the way,
Yeah.
Dave Stanhope is hanging with us. David Stanhope, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. He goes Jim's, and he gives us the and Anthony Casina is here. Glad to have you on board, Anthony. As always, he's a wonderful drummer and educator as well. And Joe Waller. Wait, am I reading that right? I need my glasses. Yeah, Joe Waller is hanging. And, so check this out. Lucia already has a question. Jim, how has your teaching improved your drumming? It's a great question.
Okay. That's a big question.
It's deep. That's a deep question.
It's a very deep question. And I'm going to approach it this way. Because at the studio over the years, we've also had a student-to-student program,
right,
where we offer lessons for students in the Bridgeport area in need.
Yep.
And our A team, our top ensemble, they would then on a Saturday, they would have a student that they would work with as well as they'd be in an ensemble. It wasn't until they had that opportunity where they would have to rethink everything because they've always been the receiver,
yeah,
and not the giver. So teaching helps to redefine and refine everything that you do, because you have to find a gear that you need to go to reach somebody who's 5, somebody who's 80, somebody who's in between, somebody who has challenges, somebody who thinks differently. They're visual, they're oral. You have to think through all of that. And teaching has changed my complete feeling and philosophy on drumming and music. So that's a great question. And I would encourage everyone to get a taste for what that's like.
Yeah.
No matter what it is. I mean, it could be drumming, it could be any type of instruction, because you have to find a way to reach somebody.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you look at a student and they're looking at you like, it's deer in the headlights, it's fog. And you're like, I'll say, it's okay if you don't understand it. If you don't, please tell me.
Yeah.
There's never a dumb question. Don't feel silly. It's my job. It's my responsibility to find another way to get it to you. And we'll find it.
Yeah.
And if I don't have the answer, and I'm also honest that way, I'll get the answer.
Yeah.
So great question. And you just got to be an open book and be honest with yourself about your teaching, and that we certainly don't know it all. We'll never know it all. No matter how much teaching and or lessons we continue to get, or master classes, there's always something new to learn and another way to do it.
Right.
And Jim, that's why we go to PASIC.
That's right.
I mean, this was my 33rd year in a row. Wow. I've been going since 1987.
Oh, that's
St.
crazy.
Louis. And Arthur Lipner was the one who took me.
Wow.
And he said to me at UB, University of Bridgeport, he's like, "Hey, Jim, are you going to PASIC?" And again, I went, "What's that?"
What is that?
And once I went, I was like a kid in a candy store. I went, of course, the first year I went to every drum set clinic because, you just don't understand that you should move around and do other things. And Jim, I've never missed one since. Even last year I did the online and I wanted to support it.
Right.
But it's a game changer. And if you haven't gone, you have to go. You have to go. I mean, the relationships and the camaraderie that you're going to build from doing it, get involved in your local chapter, et cetera, et cetera. It could change everything for you. Now, Jim, did you go this year?
Yep, I was there.
Now, how weird is it that this is what's strange? I think there was a little under 5,000 people that went. I don't think I saw you.
That's crazy.
I don't think I saw you.
How did I not see you this year? That's fun. That's fine because we always bump into each other at PASIC.
And I know we went to some of the drum set clinics. You were at Garibaldi. I was there.
Yeah. In fact, with Garibaldi, we were pretty close to the front, and then we were backstage afterwards just because I've been hanging with him so much over the last year. And I'm trying to think like why we didn't run into each. Even like the Sabian SEN hang. Were you there? You didn't go to that, right?
I guess I was bopping around and I just didn't know. I don't think I did.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
must
think
have
I.
missed the Sen hang. That would have been the one where
That
we
would have been the one.
probably would have ran into, or at Andy Zildjian's hang, one or the other.
Right, right, right.
But man, yeah, that's so funny. Yeah,
But
we
that's
didn't.
that's very common. I mean, that happens a lot. Another good friend of mine that I've known for he was chapter president for Alabama, and he goes, Jim, I can't believe I didn't see you.
Yeah,
Now
that's
you
crazy.
forget that you could go, well, I'll text you and we're going to meet somewhere.
Yeah. I
But
mean,
but you get so, you're trying to go to this, that, and the meeting and this and that, and you just suddenly the the 4 days is over.
yeah,
But it's just I look forward to it every year. It's so important.
it
It's
is.
so
It is.
important for your development. I mean, just what your student just asked about, has your teaching help your drumming? I mean, those resources help your teaching and your drumming.
100%. And I'm trying to encourage students to come, and I've hosted students coming and chaperoned in the
Yeah.
past. And I try to introduce as many people as possible because so many of the bonds that I have today with other educators and other players are through that connection. Another guy in here tonight, Ray Levier, hanging with us tonight. So Ray, man, I see him every year at Basic.
Awesome.
And by the way, Ray is playing, and I'm going to mention your concert also, but Ray is playing at Martha's Jazz Cellar, I think, on December 17th. That's Friday. Ray's band is playing. So if there's still tickets, it may be sold out. But if there's still tickets, go see Ray play. He's an amazing player and such a good guy. And you have a holiday concert coming up on the 17th as well. And I just took a quick note about that. But and of course, you can give us a little more information. But that's this week, and that's with your ensembles, right? Your A ensemble is kicking that off, aren't they?
Yes, they are. We have 4 graded percussion ensembles at the studio.
Right.
The A team is the premier group, and they're like high school level. And then we go all the way down to the D group, where you could be 4th grade, 3rd grade, and then it's C, B, and A. And how it works for us, and this could be a model for someone as they start to build, is that when we have these concerts, whether it's the holiday concert or we do 2 recitals, we do one in January and one in June, and we do other things. The A team inspires,
right?
And the younger kids see what's happening, and they're like, "I want to do that. I want to move up." And then every September, through the summer, we have music that's picked out, and they have to audition to move up. And that's how the standard and level stays where it is, because I mean, you have to play 4 mallets to be an A and B ensemble. I mean, there's just all these things that you have to develop. But those concerts, again, it's so awesome. I mean, the A team is doing super advanced high school and college level material.
Nice.
And the holiday concert is just fantastic. I mean, the last piece that they're doing is the Nutcracker Suite. And
nice.
If it's just all percussion, that means they're playing all the parts.
Yeah.
They're not just playing the shadings and the nuances. They're playing, right. All the violin parts on marimba and doing whatever, and they just blow me away. And for us, because it's private studio, you can't have 2 or 3 rehearsals a week. Like you're at school, you're in band, you have 2 or 3 rehearsals. Kids are from different towns that are in the studio, so they have 1 rehearsal a week.
Yeah.
I mean, and the A team does a 2-hour rehearsal, but that's a lot to do.
Yeah.
I mean, they're working on 5 pieces for that concert. They're also doing steel pan on the side, because then with the recital steel pan, which is the end of January. So, but again, that's what I'm saying about everyone's super pumped because they know they got to get it done.
Right.
And when we talk about the past of what's happened, I mean, my assistant director, Brian Enty, who is like 1 year shy of 40, has been a student of mine since he was 5.
Wow.
And so he went to the first national competition we went to for Bands of America for percussion ensemble. And he's been with me since he graduated college. And we've traveled the world to all European countries. We've been to China. We've been everywhere with that A team. And sometimes I look back and I'm like, can't even believe that we've done it all.
Right.
I've done all that. And the experiences, and it changes your life. I mean, when we went to China, I mean, that was groundbreaking for us. I think it was about 7 years ago ish. And, we performed and et cetera, but it was like the kids, was there a young lady in that group? I can't remember, but the guys, it was like they were the Beatles when we would get off of a bus.
Right.
I mean, they were like in awe of how it felt, when we got to perform, and then the experiences. You get to the Great Wall, you finally get up to where you actually walk up, and then you turn and you look. How does your life not get changed forever?
Right. Oh
I have a young one of the young guys who was a senior, and put his arm on my shoulder, and we were walking to another some other monument to see or whatever it was, and he's like, Jim, this is the best thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we do it for the right reasons. And it just came out of evolving and encouragement, actually, from Brian Ente's father, who was an incredible mentor for me, who was not a musician, but he was a businessman. And he's like, Jim, you should consider doing this, and you should consider doing that. And I kept going, you're crazy. Like, what? You want me to go to Bands of America in Indianapolis, Indiana? Call for tapes like PAS and da-da-da-da-da, this and that. And yeah, I was crazy enough to take those leaps.
Right.
I was crazy enough to buy my first house at 23 because it had an incredible finished basement where I knew that's where my private studio was going to be after teaching, at a music store. And I was really scared.
Yeah.
I mean, but I knew in my heart of hearts and in my mind that I was going to make it work, because that's what I was taught from my dad. Like, he was a blue collar guy who got his hands dirty, and he taught me how to work hard.
Yeah.
But I had he introduced me to drumming. First of all, he played. But he did it as a hobby. He took me to see Buddy Rich when I was a kid, when my feet couldn't even hit the floor. I'm sorry, I'm being random here, but
me too.
What's that?
I said me too. My dad took me to the Buddy Rich thing at a young age. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but for my dad, it was like to show that you worked hard means you had to clean your hands at the end of the day. So at a certain point, when I was in my mid to late teens, he was like, well, what did you do today? Well, I'm like, I practiced for 5 hours. And it still didn't make sense to him yet.
Yeah.
Till it's really started to make progress, and then the success started to come, et cetera, et cetera. And I know, he passed on over 2 years ago. He lived a great life too, about 87, but I know he was proud. And I ended up giving back to him a beautiful Rogers Blue Sparkle drum kit.
Oh, wow.
That he had in his practice room just to have fun with. And so I got it back when he passed, and I just had a great friend of mine, and this is something for your viewers to know. And I know there's other people that do it, but in Connecticut, our area, there's a gentleman named Bob Vaca that does restoration.
Right.
And I think I put some pictures up on Facebook not too long ago. He redid that Blue Sparkle kit. It looks like it's out of the box.
Wow.
And so that's now in my practice room at home. And I think of my dad every time I go in there to practice, because usually I'm at the studio, but I try to do some things before I come out here. Because once you come into this world, I mean, there's 3 of us teaching, and it's craziness. It's like the hourglass, all the sand just goes away.
Yeah.
So, I mean, once your teaching day starts, no matter what part of it is for you, because I know you wear a bunch of different hats with what you do, which I highly respect. I can't believe that stuff, and I'm so terrible at that, and I need your help, of course. But you have to try to get something done before you leave, and come to your main shop every day, because I don't care at this point if it's 20 minutes or it's a half hour or it's longer, because we've learned how to make that quality time in the practice room. And it makes you feel great too. I mean, because you're going to be teaching and you're in that room and you're drumming, but it's not the same. You need to go in your shed and do your work.
Yep.
Because I'm still a very active performer, and player, and as you mentioned, there's a lot of different groups that I work with, and it's like you had to have your A game on all the time.
Yeah.
And that's why we call the A team in the studio the A team. It's like bring your A game, get your mind right, and make it happen. So but anyway, I digress.
So real quick, I'm just going to, and by the way, and all of that was really worth mentioning, and I appreciate you speaking about those stories. And I think we lost our dads pretty close together. 2 years ago for you, 1 year ago for me. My dad was not a musician either, but he was very much into music. So as a kid, I was getting dragged to the to Lincoln Center, to the Philharmonic, to the ballet, to the opera, because he had season tickets to everything. And so he would take me a lot as a kid. So luckily, he turned me on to all this classical stuff early, and then he gave me his Dave Brubeck records that he had and turned me on to jazz, and then he took me to see Buddy Rich, and the rest is history. By the way, I just want to say, yeah, exactly. So Anthony was asking a question. Oh, and John Gill is in here, by the way. John Gill, how you doing, man? He said, hello, Jim T and Jim R. Happy holidays. Anthony Cucina said, Jim, who are some of your main drum influences? And I have a list of drummers that I always talk about near the end of the show. So, but, and how do you go about studying their qualities? So who are some of the main drummer influences?
Are we talking a little farther back?
Maybe. Well, let's just go with like who are some of the main ones that really maybe put you on the path.
Well, again, we've already said it. Buddy was a main influence for a ton of us.
Yes.
And to try and put those records on, and they were records at the time, and try to play along with those in any aspect. You were going to get better just by trying. So there was something about that. But I was very influenced when, again, if we're talking like, teens and early 20s, I mean, Steve Gadd was another one. Seeing Neil Peart at Radio City Music Hall doing Exit Stage Left. Come on.
Right.
And then I have to just share this because this is huge. Okay. Aldo Mazza at COSA. Okay. Yeah. Every year he'd have a special guest that he wouldn't even let the faculty know. I'm teaching steel pan up there at the time. And, and you name it, the drummers were there, whether it was Zorro, whoever. And he would say, no, I'm not telling you guys. And then all of us would collaborate and would go, well, who the hell is he talking about? He can't bring back Buddy or this and that or whatever. And we'd say, oh, no, it wouldn't be Neil or it wouldn't be this person or whatever. Well, that last morning, it would be set up on the stage and he'd open up the auditorium doors. And I looked at the drum kit and it wasn't the full thing, but immediately I went, oh my God, it's Neil Peart.
Yeah.
So there were about 40 people in the camp. My son was with me, so it was special. My son Ryan, who played drums all the way through his second year of college.
Right.
And he made it clear, we're not doing a meet and greet. We're not doing pictures because he's very private.
Yep.
But he walked out. We're like, 10 feet away. I kid you not, Jim. Men that were my age and older, there were tears. I mean, Neil didn't do any of that. He didn't do clinics. They're both from Canada, so Aldo knew him.
Yeah.
And he didn't want anyone to know because there'd be a line out the door, and that's not what COSA was about.
Right.
So there was question and answer. He actually played with an African ensemble and played hand drums. Never saw that before.
Wow.
And I don't know. It was just, I mean, that was a part of, that phase for me. And I respect him wholeheartedly. I mean, that's not the direction I ended up going in, but it was huge.
Yeah.
But other drummers that, Papa Joe Jones is huge for me. Art Blakey, Jeff Hamilton, major influence.
I love Jeff.
On my playing currently. I mean, and even actually some of the people that you said that I got to study with were major influences. I mean, studying with Max Roach at Jazz in July and at University of Massachusetts, it was a 2-week camp, and you did something that he had a percussion group called M Boom.
Right.
So all the drummers then would go and work with Max, and we would recreate M Boom, and we would make up pieces based on jazz standards playing all concert percussion.
That's insane.
So, and then back then you would record things, and I had these cassettes, and I recorded a bunch of stuff. I mean, Max said something to us one day, and I knew he was telling the truth. I mean, everything came so passionate. He said, Jim, if I would have gotten a nickel for every hour I practiced, I could retire. Now we're talking like mid to late 80s. What? Like, so
that's amazing.
It made it clear, like, on what you need to do to master your instrument and never stop learning.
Right.
So that was a big influence. Getting to study with, and I'm not sure you mentioned him, but when I was studying with Keith Copeland in New York City, and this is something as an example for everybody, whether you're young, old, or ever in between, I always jumped at the chance to study with somebody if I really felt it.
Yeah.
And I living in Connecticut, like, come on, if you're gonna like complain about driving to New York, you don't want it bad enough. So I studied with Keith. It was like every other week because I was already, I was already working. And he would talk about Vernel Fournier from the great album with Ahmad Jamal, Live at the Pershing. Yeah. That album itself with brushes is like a whole college semester course. So I didn't know whether he was saying he was alive or he wasn't. So immediately I did research, and he was living in New York City. And it just so happens I was playing with a piano. No, it didn't happen that way. Sorry. But I went to go see him in New York at a club. And then I said, do you give lessons? And he's like, absolutely. So I would go pick him up at his house. And then we drive to Avenue A and get some type of, practice room or teaching space or whatever. I got more out of driving with him and talking with him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just like he played with everybody. And so those were major influence. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is that don't feel like, and especially in today's world, in our world now, whether it's virtual or live,
right,
you have no excuses at all.
No. We have access to so many people. It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, if so like, yeah, I probably should, because I know Jeff Hamilton. We're not like buddies, but like I know him.
Yeah.
So I really should like call him and like take some lessons with him, so I need to do that. So this just made me own up, my own self, and do that because anybody could study with anybody now.
Yeah.
It's okay, and you don't have to be at a certain, I don't know. Certain teachers may not want to take super beginners, but you still can ask.
Yeah.
So, and then when I worked with Keith, he talked a lot about the great Alan Dawson. And he's in Lexington, Massachusetts. And he all those Ted Reed syncopation exercises and all that stuff. I'm like, I said, Keith, would you mind if I worked with Alan for a while? Because I wanted to work with the person who came up with all the ideas. I drove to Lexington, Mass for over a year taking lessons with Alan. And he took me back to school. Like, wow. First lesson, we're going over rudiments. I've been doing rudiments since I was 11 years old. And I'm like, in my head, even John Ramsey would talk about it like, we're going to go over rudiments, but then you realize what he was getting at, and then he would get up on the vibraphone and we would talk about a song, and he's like, well, I'm going to start playing. And then when I stop, you better know exactly where we're supposed to be when I, blah, blah, blah. I mean, there was just so much I learned from that. But I took those chances, and I just think it's so important. When you have those opportunities, whether it's financial or to be able to get to see someone virtually or in person, go do it.
Yeah.
Go do it. Doesn't mean, you're going to have to stay with that person forever. I mean, even there's something you're going to change. You can't be the same.
Right.
Once you go for that experience. So I would encourage everyone to do that. Yeah, I hope that kind of went around and answered that person's question, but
yeah, for sure.
That's a little bit about that.
And as you said, I mean, we have access to so many people. The other thing is, people are performing. There's never an excuse not to go see somebody play. If I know with COVID and the shutdown, there wasn't a lot happening, but things are coming back. If somebody's playing, go see them because they're not going to be there forever. And then when they're gone, you're going to be regretting it that you didn't go see so-and-so play or you didn't go see this one play. So, make sure you get out there and see everybody play. By the way, Ray was just reiterating that, yes, it's Maureen's Jazz Cellar this Friday. And your concert, by the way, I turned to it before and then we went on a little journey. But no, it was all good. I just want to make sure I say this because we are wrapping up like with a hard stop because you have a rehearsal tonight. But so you guys are playing Friday night, 7:30 p.m. at the Bessemer Center on
That's
North
correct.
Avenue in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Right.
And it's a scholarship fundraiser for students in need. So you can get tickets at the door for $15 for adults, $10 for children, and hopefully you'll go there and see that concert. I know it's going to be amazing and inspirational, and it's for a great cause. So
absolutely. Jim, we could go a little bit over because people have to start coming into the room and getting set up, not on my side, on the other ensemble side. So we can go a little bit over.
All right. So we got a few minutes.
Brian, my assistant director, will start the rehearsal if we go a little bit over because we're having a great chat and it's okay.
All right, cool. And by the way, Jim Mola said that Arthur had turned him on to PASIC as well, and he's always been grateful for that. So I also met Jim at PASIC. Jim and I have a funny kind of connection with musicians in the wedding scene, his wife. There's a whole thing. We're not going to get into that, but we talked about it on my show with when I had Jim Mola on. So that was super fun. And Jim's a great guy, and he always makes me laugh. And he also said that Keith was the best, one of a kind. So very cool, very cool. And Bob Sears is here tonight, and he said that he was so into practicing tonight that he just got here. So good excuse. Bob
Absolutely.
Sears, one of my students, one of Dom's students, and he's also a fixture in my hand technique workshop, which I really appreciate. Awesome. So I'm going to go to my sort of speed round questions just because, and I think we absolutely need a part 2 because I want to go through your story from the beginning, more or less, because I love getting people's stories. I really think it's about the story of the person. We can talk about drum technique all the time, every day, probably for hours every day. But just like with James Gadsden the last time when he was on, I'm trying to get the story of the man behind all the stuff. Because you do a lot. I can't believe the amount of stuff that you do. I mean, we're all nuts, and we all do a lot of things. And we all have that sort of manic energy where we can pull together a lot of different things. But I want to jump into some of these, some of my speed round questions. And by the way, let's mention your companies that you endorse. So Sabian, obviously, Vic Firth, REMO, something called Skygels, which I was going to ask you about, and Mapex.
Yes.
And
LP.
LP and Grover Percussion?
Grover Pro. Yep.
Grover Pro. So I just want to make sure I got your, all of your companies in. So,
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
And I on my gratitude walk every day.
Yeah.
I take the 2 dogs and we do like a really nice power walk all the way back. It's a gratitude. Thank you.
Yeah.
And one of the things that the companies that they've helped my journey and my mission, and it's a win-win for everyone when you go about it the right way.
Right.
And I can't thank them enough for all their support all these years, with teaching and when I was chapter president and just in every way. And I know things have changed a little bit over the years, but you know what? We all have to just pitch in and do our part to keep it all going as we go through these different times of how music is changing and different things. And but I'm so grateful for all their help and all the people that helped me get to those opportunities.
Right.
I mean, can we do it alone? You cannot do it alone. You cannot.
That is the truth.
And so it's a community, and what you're doing with your show is an example of that. You're keeping and building a community of all of us great teachers and drummers. And I thank you for that. I mean, it really is important. I mean, not everybody is suited to do what you're doing, or will take that time, and it's important. Thank you.
Oh yeah, man. And I will say that I say it every live stream, so everybody's like rolling their eyes right now. But we are a weird, crazy extended family, drummers and percussionists, and we really are a family. I feel like, and that we have each other's backs differently than other musicians. Ralph Roll was telling a great story about that when he was on the show, that we root for each other, and whereas guitar players might turn their backs and hide their riffs so that they can't copy. But we're like, man, oh, that's so cool. Would you play? Show me that again. So, we are definitely a family. So I have a question that was inspired by Dom Famularo. By the way, I wanted to say, you said the gratitude walk, and you won't be able to see this because it's impossible to see, but on my phone, and you were saying about keeping a journal, I keep a journal on the phone, and I have a lot of lists, and one of them is my thankful list, and I've been keeping it on the phone for a few years now. So it's this tremendous list of 3 things that I'm thankful for every day that I write on my list. So you have to show gratitude 100%, and to the people that help us do what we do. For one, Dom Famularo, for me, was a huge mentor. And even this show, I mean, he did the sessions panel stuff and continues to do that stuff, and it really influenced me to want to reach out and get people's stories. So, thanks to Dom for that. And this question is inspired by Dom. And the question is, why do we choose, and this is a question for both of us, but you're going to answer it, what seems to others as to be the path of most resistance? And he talked about this in his book, The Cycle of Self-Empowerment. But being a musician is not an easy road. And so why do we choose this path that seemingly to other people is impossible, especially to our fathers, when they were watching us start to do this and they're like, wait a minute, that's not a job. What are you talking about? So what is your answer on that?
Oh.
That's not a speed round question, by the way. That was something that hit me today when I was walking.
Yeah, that's pretty deep. That's a tough one to answer in short form. I'm going to say this for now, and I'm going to get this some more thought, and we'll talk about it more when I come back.
Yes.
But I think it's already a seed that was planted inside you, and part of it's the aha moments. And I'll just share this one real quick. When I was in 6th grade, I was sitting in my open space classroom, and the band director came in, and he said, Jim, or not Jim, he goes, guys, our snare drummer's moving away. Does anybody play drums in here? I shot my hand up so fast. I never took a lesson, but my father had a drum kit.
Right.
So, and then I started lessons in 6th grade. I knew from that moment, it was implanted in me. So I'm not sure that really answers your question, but I got to work on that. I got to work on that even more for you. But that's what came to me just now.
Right.
I think it's a part of you, and there was no going back, Jim. From 6th grade, and I wasn't want to be with a star on the door. That wasn't it. It was music is my life. I mean, I had a natural gift. There's no doubt about it. I mean, the teacher that I had was someone my father went to school with. He would bring his wife and kids in and go, like, he put on the 45s of like Sweet Georgia Brown and showing me different grooves. And almost instantly I would pick it up and just play very comfortably. And he was like, what is this kid? So there's something, it's a gift.
Yeah.
Jim, it's a gift. And some people have to nurture those gifts more. And that's why I'm so passionate and respectful about what we do, is because I could have a student who really has no coordination. Their sense of rhythm is awful, but they love it.
Yeah.
Do you think little Johnny can do this, or should we continue? What? Like,
Right.
if he really wants to do it or she wants to do it, I'm not giving up on this kid,
Right.
and what it's going to mean to them. So I kind of went around on that a little bit, but I hope that kind of answered that.
Yeah.
Something I don't want to leave out before, we're not going to wrap up yet, but I want to tell you something that I am grateful for, and I think you're going to agree with me. I'm grateful for my wife, Allison. Okay. 30 years married this past June. What she puts up with, with me owning my own business, or before, we dated in high school, we met in band, but I mean, it's just unbelievable what she puts up with.
Oh my God.
And my craziness, she'll look at me sometimes and go, what the heck is wrong with you? Like, because we could be doing what we do 24/7, 365 and not come up for a breath.
Yeah.
And she could bring me back and pull me back down and go, can we just watch a show that doesn't have to do with music? Or whatever. I mean, but thanking our significant others, no matter what it is, we can't forget that part, because we're nobody without support. And not to say that someone can't do it on their own. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
But I have my story. And that's a big thank you every day from my parents, 100%. My wife, my sons, for their support. Because they know where I come from. They know where I come from. They get it.
Yeah.
And they know I'm crazy, but there's got to be crazy in there to do what we do.
Yeah.
We have to have that. So anyway, I had to share that.
My wife as well. She she's been putting up with this for a very long time and is so supportive. And I kind of made a joke about it when I had my book release party at Rockwood Music Hall in the city, and when I had the book release thing, I basically thanked her for just putting up with all of my shenanigans, because I was down here recording all the video clips and audio clips, hours and hours and hours and hours, and engraving, and hours and days and months and years. And she was like, when are you going to finish this freaking thing? And but she was really supportive and put up with it that whole time. So,
well, I mean, the success and the content of that book is amazing.
Oh, thank you, man.
And I mean, I even say that to my students about like a work that you just that you put out. It's like what is it? Almost 2 years?
Yeah, 2 years.
And what it takes to do that. I mean, the dedication and the commitment is you can't measure it. So I commend you for that. I mean, it's an incredible work.
Oh, thanks,
and I don't know if you have a copy of it right there, but you should hold it up.
Yeah. Where is it? I moved it over here. I have it. Yeah. Well, everybody's bored of me I hold this up every week.
No, it's okay. I mean, we use it with the students here, and it's an incredible resource.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I have to just real quick mention that Ray Levier said, why climb Mount Everest, right? So, it's when we were talking about the path of most resistance. So, yeah, man, and it's also love and passion that we don't run out of.
No, I mean, I get up every day, and not everybody gets to do this. I'm very thankful that I do something that I love, and I have my whole career, and I've made a living at it. I've raised my family.
Right.
We make an honest living. We're not gonna retire rich, but we're gonna be rich in everything that we've given back. Right. And when I get an email or a letter or something from a student that's now an engineer and says, everything that I worked with you on helped me get to where I am now.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. Well, that's good enough for me. I mean, not that I don't, I'm not looking for the thank yous, but it's not till they're gone, they start to realize, wow, what an experience that was. I mean, the great Jonathan Haas, who teaches at NYU, we had him in as a guest. He's a great timpanist and percussionist. And we rehearsed in the ensemble room, and then we came back over on the main side, and he just looked at me and he goes, do you realize what you have here? And you forget, like, because you're in it every day, and
Right.
the safe haven you have for your students. Because if you're a student here, you could come here. It's an open door policy. You can come here and practice.
Right.
Okay, who has a marimba at their house? Who has timpani? Who has all this other stuff? And I love it because it's a lot of energy.
Yeah.
But changing lives. I mean, that's
Right.
yeah, helping people and changing lives in any way that we can. And it changes our lives every day. And I want to get up and I want to be better every day.
Right.
Try to be better than I was the day before. So that encourages me. And yeah, we all get burnt out, and I get it. I mean, sometimes we're like, whoa, wow, but you take a little break and you get revived. You go to PASIC and you get all juiced up and your battery is recharged, and you come back. And my sometimes Allison will go, "You've been to that damn thing 33 years. What the heck haven't you seen?" You're always going to see something new, something you didn't catch the time before. Meet somebody, see old friends, and it means the world.
Yep.
So our lives and what we do, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah, man.
Wouldn't trade it for anything. So,
by the way, Ray said that quote about Mount Everest was from Kenward Denard when he studied with him. That's a great quote. Yeah, man. And, I will say that you're right. Sometimes you walk into your room every day and we don't realize what we have sometimes, right? Because we're in
Right.
here all the time. But when you get a student that comes in for the first time and they go, "Oh my God," and they see your room and they just like fall on the floor because you have such a great space, then you realize and you reappreciate everything that you have, It's really
right.
incredible.
It's funny. I have a student who's relatively new, say he's in a couple months now, and he was in a week or so ago, and we were working on something, and I saw him looking around in my main teaching room, and I'm like, what do you see? He's like, "There's so many things in here that I haven't even seen yet."
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, again, you forget.
Yep.
I'm surrounded by it every day. I mean, they see some instrument that they don't know what the heck that is. What is that? What is this? What is that? It's so forth. But yeah, it's great. That's a great way to look at that.
Yeah, man. Well, man, today was really amazing. I know you have a rehearsal.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you one. These are just quick things before I let you go. So real
Okay, I'll
quick.
try to be as quick as possible.
These don't require a lot of thought. So, first drum you ever owned.
It was a import kit that my father. No, we were talking about that I bought or that was bought for me.
Either the first drum that you owned, doesn't matter what it was. First drum.
Yeah. Well, my father's kit, which was a Radio
Nice.
King, which I still have the floor tom.
Wow. Well, that's
It's the
cool.
best sounding drum ever. Yeah.
First record you ever bought with your own money.
Oh, good Lord. I'm going to say either Chuck Mangione or a Spyro Gyra record. I'm not sure.
Okay, which Chuck Mangione? You mean like
The
the one with
double album with Steve Gadd on it, or Feel So Good. One of those.
Oh yeah. The Children of Sanchez was that double album.
Yes.
That had some cool stuff on it. First concert you ever attended?
Well, it was Buddy Rich, but when my father didn't take me, I think I saw Carlos Santana at Pier 84.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, that was really cool.
First gig you ever had?
I was 14. My father had to drive me, and it was a dance band, and I was in way over my head. But once again, I just put the ears on and just played.
And just do it. Nice. All right, these are first one-word answers.
Okay.
Since I got to keep you on schedule.
Okay.
One-word answers. Max Roach.
History.
Tony Williams.
Progressive.
Jack DeJohnette.
Artist.
Lenny White.
Funky.
David Garibaldi.
Ultimate funky.
I love it. How about Steve Gadd?
Rudiments personified.
That's 2 words.
Ah.
Simon Phillips,
Explosion.
Philly Joe Jones.
Brushes.
Nice. Vinny Caluta.
Complex.
You know what's funny? Every time I mention Vinny Caluta, some people just laugh. They just start laughing. They're like, "Oh,
Can I
my
take
God."
that? I mean, I almost want to take. I almost take that back, but I said it already. Okay.
What were you get? What would be if I said it again?
Um. Monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, I think Ralph Roll and I talked about this. There's that reel of all the intros of the entire year of Joan Rivers shows, and Vinny gets a 4-bar drum break every night because he was in the band for the show, and somebody made a reel of it on YouTube, and it's just like 4-bar drum break after 4-bar drum break, and they all floor you. They all like blow your mind. Buddy Rich.
Fast.
Ringo Starr.
Simple.
John Bonham.
Odd time signatures.
Wow, that's funny,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
And we'll just say Neil Peart for the last one.
Poetic.
Yeah, man. By the way, I'm surprised we didn't see each other at PASIC on that because he got that Hall of Fame award, which he would never accept, and his wife and daughter accepted it on his behalf.
Right.
At
I was.
that.
Yeah.
You were there, right?
Yeah. I was in that room.
I was in that room. How did we not see each other?
Well, that's a big room.
Yeah, it was a big room.
Yeah.
All right, and now just 3 other ones.
Okay.
Coffee, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, lots of coffee or no?
I'm a tea guy from my mother, but now I've dabbled into the coffee routine.
Yeah. I'm drinking green tea a lot lately, but I am a coffee head. I'm trying to cut back. Favorite pizza?
Bacon.
Bacon pizza, really?
Yeah.
Or pizzeria, you could have said, but that's all right. All right. So what's coming up? Promotion. We got the concert on Friday.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what's coming up. I mean, it's a slower season now because the steel pan stuff. I mean, we have the 17-piece big full band. I got the small band. The stuff I do with Coogan. I mean, that's another time, another day.
Yeah.
With what I do with that and big band, and I'd love to share a lot of that stuff with you.
Absolutely.
But just some local gigs and New Year's Eve gig, blah blah blah, but nothing way over the top right now. Lot of studio stuff and
awesome.
more of the norm. Nothing too exotic right now.
All right. Well,
yeah.
I have to say, man, I really appreciate your taking the time to hang with me. You are definitely one of my drum brothers. We're like a bunch of brothers from other mothers in a weird family of and ladies, because there's we have Patricia Kennedy, by the way, in here. I'm not sure who that is, but she's hanging tonight. Nice. And there was a Ruby. Somebody. Wait. So thank you to all the ladies and gents that hung with us tonight, and thank you for sharing some of your story and inspiration. And it's always fun to talk with you. And I love your passion, and you inspire me. And hopefully we're inspiring some other folks tonight.
I hope so, and I'm inspired. When people jump on, they ask questions, and please, if anybody has any questions about what we do here, private message me, email. Yep. You have my information. Yep. Because it's part of what we do here, that we got to pass it on. You got to pass the baton. There's no secrets here,
right?
Because we want to keep certain things like this going, because it's not, there's not a lot of private studios like this out there, and I think people are could be a little bit afraid of taking the leap, but it could change your life like it changed mine. And I would answer any questions about any of it at any time.
Nice. And so I did put I put your website in the description of the video. So if you're in the Connecticut area and you're looking to do lessons, or you just want to check out what Jim is doing, go to his website. There's lots of information there. Talks about the faculty, talks about all the programs that he runs, and also talks about that, because you have your royalty entertainment, so you guys do shows with the steel pan stuff, and it's really incredible the amount of stuff that you're doing. But definitely go to Jim's website, check it out, and we'll definitely do another one of these in the spring. Maybe we'll do a Jim and Jim night with Mola and the two of us. That would be a lot of fun.
We're gonna need 2 hours.
Definitely.
Because we're gonna have to get him to be quiet for a minute so that we could say something.
Yeah, I was waiting for more wisecracks out of him tonight, but he's been pretty quiet.
Maybe he's cooking some pasta or something.
He's probably cooking pasta. That's usually what he's up to.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, this was awesome. I'll see everybody on the next one. Next week, Ralph Humphrey will be with me. So I appreciate it. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you like what I do. There's lots of great information over there. And all of the interviews are archived over on the YouTube channel. So you can check out all of the wonderful interviews that I've done over the last couple of years, including this one, which will be archived there almost immediately following the stream. So there it is. Thank you, Jim Mola. Thank you, Jim Royle and Jim Mola, for hanging with me tonight. And yeah, man. And I'll talk to you real soon. I'm going to roll the credits, and there it is. Thank you, everybody.
Have a good night.